today's watch review, we're taking a look at the Armitron Griffy, or the Golden Griffy. This one is model number 40/8475 BRGP. So let's get right into it. The Griffy goes for $60 off of the Armitron website. Doing quick Google searches, you will be able to find some discount codes to lower that price. For me personally, I was able to buy it for around $30, and that was off of an email promo. For the diameter, we're looking at 35 millimeters, and that goes up to 38 millimeters with the pusher included. Case thickness is 9.7 millimeters. For lug to lug, we've got 39.7 millimeters. And then for lug width, that comes in at 16 millimeters. The Griffy comes in at 72 grams or 2.5 ounces, which is not a lot, but it is a bit heavy for its size, and that's actually a very pleasant surprise, and I attribute that to the metal case material. And here's how it looks on my 7.5 inch wrist. Starting from the outside and working our way in, for the case material, we've got a stainless steel case and bracelet. In this model, that's going to be the gold tone finish. The crystal is an acrylic crystal, and underneath that crystal, we've got a LED display. And then on the other side, we've got a snap-off case back. And if you've seen any of my other reviews, you know that this is a reoccurring theme for all of the retro style watches. On the right hand side of the case, you'll notice two pushers. The top one is button A and the bottom one is button B. Button A will turn on the display for around 4 to 5 seconds, and then button B will allow you to adjust the time, date, etc. For the modes, there's not really modes here per se, but there are different displays that the watch will show you. Starting off with main time, which you can adjust between 12 to 24 hour mode. After that, you've got your calendar data, and then your running seconds, and then of course your setting mode. I think one of the biggest questions for this watch is going to be the battery life, and to be honest, I could not find anything about the battery life, and I actively searched. So there's no definitive information that I could find. However, based on my experience with these types of watches, I imagine we're looking somewhere close to 12 to 15 months with light use, and maybe 9 to 12 with moderate to high levels of use. Of course, the more times you utilize the bright LED, the quicker the battery will drain. Now, if I'm wrong, please let me know, but I figure I like to be a bit more conservative with my guesstimate. That way, if I'm wrong, that's a good thing because you get a much longer lifespan. And the entire watch here comes with 50 meters of water resistance. For me personally, I wouldn't use this for anything other than light, shallow pool swimming, maybe not even that, mostly just, showers, hand washing, that kind of stuff. So while this technically isn't a backlight, this is just the normal operation. For review purposes, we're going to call it the backlight shot. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like in a dark room. As you can see, it's bright. You'll have no issues trying to tell the time. And also, let's go ahead and see what it looks like in the sunlight. That way you can really see how easy it is to tell the time with this thing. For the dial and display, the numbers are big, bold, and brightly illuminated. Also, it's impressive how easy it is to see even in pure daylight. There's hardly any wasted real estate on the 18.5 by 27 millimeter screen. If you remember the original Armitron LED watch, you can see that there was very inefficient use of space, but that is not the case here. However, in my personal opinion, I prefer the more elegant and sharp and subtle numbers from the original over this version, which seems to be more of a cool factor than a professional timepiece. The acrylic crystal is slightly raised from the surrounding bezel area, so if you are prone to walking into door frames or things of that nature, then you're looking at a high probability of scratches. Fortunately, acrylic does have the added benefit of being easily polished, so as long as the scratches don't go too deep, you'll be able to fix it. Aside from that, the bezel stays true to the classic with the beveled and rounded edges, which I think gives the overall case a very aesthetic look to it. The pushers are simple and easily accessible. They don't feel flimsy or cheaply made and provide a solid contact with the terminal. No sluggish or muddy action here. With the pushers being located at 3 and 4 o'clock, I enjoy the visual similarities of other watches that have an offset crown. Ideally, I would have preferred just the one pusher at 4 o'clock because I believe that that would have given it a cleaner and sexier look. The bracelet is about as retro as you can get with the cheap folded steel and quick adjust clasp, but it's light and slides across the skin easily. This is a bracelet that I could comfortably wear all day long on a hot summer day. Plus, despite the overall cheap quality, there's something that is so convenient about being able to size a bracelet on the fly without any specific watch tools. The Griffy shares the same exact case back as every other Armitron retro watch that I've reviewed, and that's not a bad thing. Snap-off casebacks are not my cup of tea, but the visual appearance of the engraved text and sunburst steel tone reflection is satisfying. It hands down beats any other overpriced retro style watch you can find on the market today. The finishing complements the minimalistic style here. There's just enough polishing along the edges to give the Griffy some pizzazz, but the subtle and humble brushed finish throughout the rest of the case and bracelet shows that you don't need to tell people you're a mob boss for them to know that you're a mob boss. So the Griffy can either be great or so-so depending on how we look at it. If we look at it 100% purely as a fun watch, then I think we've achieved greatness here. It's budget friendly, the overall assembly is solid, and there's nothing better than seeing those bright numbers even during the brightest part of the day. Plus, the metal case materials really put it over the edge when compared to large name brands like Casio, Timex, and even Citizen. Casio and Citizen use metal on their retro watches too, but they must use a more expensive stainless steel or something. And I'm joking, of course stainless steel is super cheap, there's no excuse to have an expensive stainless steel watch. Now on the other end of the spectrum, if we look at the Griffy as an attempt to achieve Revenge of the Nerd levels of LED greatness, I think it's just so-so. I say this because it sort of just feels more like a gimmick than a professional tool used to tell time. The super bright light seems more of a look at me quality than something a bunch of engineers would use in a physics lab. I would have preferred if Armitron stayed true to the original smaller and more sharp digital numbers. Yes, the original was kind of the epitome of nerdiness, but there was something undeniably cool about someone that couldn't care less about being cool. I can only imagine that having a more subtle display would also increase the battery life. So, what is my verdict? Do I recommend it? Yes and no. Yes if you're a collector, and yes if you just want to enjoy a fun little conversation starter. I'm gonna say no if you're in the market for a more serious watch, one that has longevity and can be practically used without having to press a button all the time. For what it's worth, the quality of materials compared to the price you pay is better than what other big name brands can give you. And for that, I truly think Armitron is one company that genuinely cares about their customers. Regardless, I think the Griffy will give anyone a smile on their face, and really that's about all you can ask for from a watch. And also, those are pretty much all of my thoughts on this watch. So this concludes the review. As always, I hope that this will help you with your next watch purchase. Thanks always for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. All right, bye.